When Europeans first stood before this vast stone city in the heart of Africa, they refused to believe the obvious. They could not accept that Africans had built it. So they invented other builders, and later one government would pressure the very scientists who knew the truth to keep quiet. Its name comes from the local language, from words meaning houses of stone. Great Zimbabwe. 800 years ago it was no ruin but a thriving capital, the beating heart of a powerful African kingdom, home to thousands of people. At its center stood the Great Enclosure, its outer wall curving for hundreds of feet, in places as tall as a 4-story building. Nearly 1 million granite blocks shaped and stacked with such care that they held together with no mortar at all. It is the largest ancient structure south of the Sahara. Look closely and the skill is undeniable. The stones are graded by size, laid in level courses, some walls finished with a decorative chevron pattern running along the top. This was not a random pile of rocks. It was architecture, designed and engineered by people who knew exactly what they were doing. And Great Zimbabwe was rich. It sat at the heart of a trade network stretching to the shores of the Indian Ocean. Gold and ivory flowed out, and flowing in came glass beads and porcelain from as far away as China and Persia, found buried in the soil here centuries later. Among its treasures were carvings unlike anything nearby. Soapstone birds, part eagle, part something else, perched atop tall stone columns. They were sacred, their exact meaning lost to us. Today one of them stands on the national flag, but long ago they too would be taken. By around the 15th century the city was fading. The reasons are debated: shifting trade routes, exhausted land, dwindling water. Its people moved on and founded new kingdoms elsewhere. The stone city was left to the grass and the sky, but it was never truly forgotten by the people of the land. Then in the 19th century, European explorers reached the ruins, and they were confronted with a problem, one entirely of their own making. Here was a monumental stone city in the heart of Africa, and their worldview simply would not allow them to credit it to Africans. So they reached for other stories. It must have been the Phoenicians, or the Queen of Sheba, or some lost white civilization. Ancient foreigners, anyone at all, so long as it was not the local people. The evidence was in front of them. They chose a fantasy instead. Worse, in the search for proof of these imaginary builders, early treasure hunters tore through the site. They dug out and discarded layers of African artifacts, the very evidence that could have told the true story, chasing gold and a myth. Priceless history was destroyed in the process. Yet, careful archaeologists kept coming, and the science kept pointing one way. In the early 20th century, serious excavation confirmed what should have been obvious all along. Great Zimbabwe was built by Africans, the ancestors of the Shona people who still live in that land today. But the truth was inconvenient to those in power. In the era of white minority rule, the government leaned on the story. Official guides and materials were pressured to present the origins as a mystery, to downplay the African answer. Archaeologists who insisted on the evidence found their careers made difficult because this was never only about old stones. To admit that Africans built a great civilization here undercut the whole justification for ruling them. So the history itself became a battleground. Denying who built Great Zimbabwe was a way of denying what Africans were capable of. And then the story turned. When the country won its independence, its people reached back to this place for their identity. They took its name for their new nation, Zimbabwe. And the sacred soapstone bird, once carried off, became the emblem on their flag. A vast stone city built by African hands that outsiders tried to explain away and even to erase from the record. The walls still stand. The truth is settled. And a whole nation now carries its name. Most of us were taught anyone but Africans built it. Now, you know who did.